March 27th, now in session. Please rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item on the agenda is Onyx Equities Re-Subdivision Plan 2024-07. Well, we'll do one at a time. We're going to be here for it.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Sure. My card, it's a little easier. Sure. There we go. Just sign in here. That's Robert Freud, F-R-E-U-D. All set?
Yes, sir. You explain your project for us.
Sure. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Very nice to see you back.
Thank you, sir.
My name is Seth Mandelbaum. I'm an attorney with the law firm of McCullough, Goldberger, and Stout. We represent Onyx Management Group LLC, DBA Onyx Equities, the owner and manager of the Hudson Crossing Industrial Park, formerly known as Bradley Corporate Park. We were last here at the end of January regarding the proposal to merge 64 Lieber Road and 140 Lieber Road into one lot. So that's the re-subdivision part of the application. And then there's a site plan application to develop that property with a parking lot accessory to the Rivian electric vehicle service facility that you approved last April at 800 Bradley Hill Road, which should be opening this spring for customers that order their Rivian EVs online, pick them up or service them. And we have Rob Freud, Director of Principal Dynamic Engineering, who will hear from in a couple moments. Zach Ham and Corey Chase are here from his office, and Mireille Lee and Leland Greenfield are also here from Rivian this evening.
Well, right now, I didn't want to merge the two. I just rather do the subdivision first, get that done, and then we can do the site plan.
Okay,
Yes, so they have to be two separate votes.
no problem.
Yes.
No problem.
Okay, is that a problem with you?
No, not at all. So why don't I have Rob then take you through just the re-subdivision, and then we'll do a separate
Yes.
presentation
Like
on the site plan.
Two separate votes.
Right,
We
they're
have
two
to vote
separate application numbers.
Yeah.
Okay, so the re-subdivision is essentially to merge these two lots. The zoning up there is a little funky. It's LO, but it's part of it R40 on other parts. So the idea is to merge the 140 Lieber Road lot that Rob is about to show you with the larger 64 Lieber lot, and then use the whole thing for the proposed parking area and the buffer areas that surround it. Rob?
Sure, again, Rob Fruit for the record, thank you. I'm going to use this exhibit here, the overall site plan, just to give an idea quickly of what the re-subdivision is. Again, we have basically...
Rob, can you just stand on the other side in case the audience, thank you.
Yes, sorry about that. We have essentially two lots here. Lot 50.04 and lot 47. 50.04 is the primary lot here. That's about 11 acres. So that is behind the warehouse industrial development here. It's essentially vacant today. It has an extension out to Lieber Road, which has not been used in some time. I know it doesn't look like it's passable now. But that is its official access today. As far as frontage goes, and the other lot is on the east side that also has a narrow access out to Lieber Road. So the purpose here is to bring those two lots together, provide one lot that will be a total of 13.1 or so acres to allow for the development here. Again, as Mr. Mandelbaum indicated, we're in several zones here. The zone line between the LO and the R40, the R40 is what Lieber Road is. That actually is offset several feet into the property, so all of our dimensions for setbacks are taken from that line, not the property line. And I'll go through that when we get into the site plan side. But split LO, and then that line takes a northern turn between the two lots, so the R40 extends up along the east side of the property. Again, the purpose here is really just to bring these two lots together, so that when we get discussing site plan, we have one consolidated lot.
Excuse me, Rob, can you just clarify for the board and the public, the access? Because you mentioned the two little L's there out on Lever Road, and I wanted to be clear, even though it's part of the site plan, that it would not be the access for the motor.
That's correct. So right now, from a tax map official standpoint, the access for this tax lot is its frontage on Lever Road. The access for the tax lot here is its frontage on Lever Road. As we get a site plan, the practical access, the official access will be driveways that come from inside the development, and those two access points will not be used as part of the site plan.
Thank you.
But to be clear, they're actually not accessible.
Right, they're
You
just,
can't, you won't be able to drive down the one to the big commercial lot.
Correct. You can't
Right.
now, and
You
you
can't
won't.
transverse it with a vehicle.
Correct.
thank you for clarifying.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll open it up to the board. Oh, yeah, let me read the comment, I'm sorry.
First day back from vacation.
Yeah.
Little rust. Rash Review has no additional comments. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, James Layton, March 25th. Minor subdivision package was prepared by Control Point Associates Incorporated, PC dated 2/18/24. No further comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, March 25th. Bruce Peters has 3 comments. Now, I also have, this applies to both, the way Booker Engineering did it is they referred to both the re-subdivision and site plan on this memorandum. And it's Booker Engineering dated March 26th. And it says the applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate the potential significant impacts with respect to drainage can be mitigated. Therefore, we recommend that Onyx Equities LLC site plan be approved for drainage, subject to the above project comments, of which there are 7. This will also be read into the site plan.
Fair enough.
And I believe that's it. Mike, is there anything else?
No, I see, please.
Okay. Anything, anything else? Okay, thank you very much. Andy, questions or comments on the site plan?
No, I don't have anything right now.
Okay, thank you very much. Lisa?
No.
Okay, thank you.
This one thing is, they said on, was it, 64 and
140 is the
140. Yeah, but as the legislator said, they're both. I don't know when the hell they were last used,
Right.
because the trees are growing on, the berm is still covered with a tremendous amount of wood, it's never been cleared from what I can see. And it's quite narrow, I don't think you can even get a tractor trail to turn into one of them, so. Just to confirm what else was said on that, that's all.
Okay, thank you very much. Mike?
Regards to re-subdivision, no comments.
Okay, thank you very much.
No comment.
Okay, thank you.
No comments.
Okay, Bruce?
No comment.
Thank you very much. I'm gonna open.
Motion.
Motion to, open it up to the public.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Okay, anybody from the public wish to speak on the subdivision part of this application? Okay. One more time, anybody wish to speak on the subdivision part of this application? Okay, hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to close public.
Motion to close public portion.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. This is advertised, huh? Okay, can I have a motion for final with conditions on the subdivision?
You gotta reconfirm sequel, right?
Did you ever do
We never did.
This never got passed, yes.
Motion for
Okay,
lead,
okay, very good.
motion for lead agency.
Because you said you did it in January, I don't know what you guys
Yeah,
did.
we did
Okay,
that.
motion for lead agent. Second.
And,
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Motion for, make that.
motion for next step.
Second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Okay, motion for final with conditions.
Motion for final with conditions.
And conditions are, James Slayton's letter dated March 25th with 1 comment. Bruce Peters' letter dated March 25th, 3 comments. And Booker Engineering's letter dated March 26th, with 7
Stout. This is still Rob Fruit from Dynamic Engineering.
Are you sure?
You know, some days I have to check in the mirror. So now we're going to discuss the site plan application for the redevelopment of this site for an accessory parking area in conjunction with the approved, almost open Rivian Service Center at 800 Bradley Hill Road. Rob will take you through just a refresher overview in a moment, but I just wanted to note a few things. Since the January meeting, we really tried to go through all of the comments of the board, the public, PRC, staff, etc., and made several significant, we believe, changes to the plan, including adding 98 additional trees on top of the existing screening and the original proposed landscape plan. We reduced the light pole height from 25 to 20 feet. Rob's office provided a line of sight analysis from several different relevant viewpoints that show that the berm and the topography and these various adjustments will really cut down the sight lines and the proposed parking area. And finally, we, in response to Dave Majewski's comments, added 2 fire hydrants up at the site. As we talked about in January, there's no proposed EV charging up at the site. That's down at 800. No trailer storage. Really just a parking area for the new EVs to live for a couple of weeks until the customer comes to pick them up at the service center down the hill. So just wanted to note some of those major changes from the last time we were before you. Rob will take you through a little more detail on that, and then happy to answer any questions.
So I'll walk back over to the overall site plan rendering. Just give, again, a quick overview of the plan and what the changes are. Originally, we had 643 parking spaces on the lot. Access on both the west and east side going down into the remainder of the development. Again, just for record and clarity, no access through either of the points on Maple Road is proposed. You can see the dark green vegetation that's there today. That will remain, including any access there. Coming out of the January 24th planning board meeting, we heard some comments, some things that I think will enhance the plan. We did revise and resubmit plans. So these plans were dated February 16th. The board has, I'll just go through a couple, some of the substantive changes that were made. Seth already kind of stole a little bit of my thunder. But just real quick, not a lot going on here change-wise. Number one, with regard to fire safety and access, again, the access would be the 2 points of the ingress and egress that remain. There was discussion over putting some brakes in the parking rows. So we have 2 brakes breaking it up basically into thirds. So that takes, in each row, that would take up 5 spaces. So that's 10 less spaces, brings our total down to 633 parking spaces here. That provides the requested sort of brakes in the parking row for access for emergency, just to keep some separation between the cars. In looking at the packet of revised plans, there were no remaining comments with regard to that design element. The other thing we did in response to some fire comments was proposing to bring water to the site. So that's going to come from a little bit further north. We're going to bring the water main up and bring it across the entire length of the development area. That'll put a fire hydrant on both the west and east side of the development. The one remaining comment from fire was to move the western hydrant a little bit closer to the main drive aisle. There's no objection to that. It makes sense. It's a good recommendation. So we'll do that as far as fire comments. Briefly talked about the lighting. Last time we had 25-foot high fixtures. We lowered those to 20 feet. If you remember the discussion, this berm is 20 feet high. So at the lowest elevation difference is 20 feet. As the site slopes away, you get to greater than 20 feet. So the goal here is to lower those light fixtures so they will not be higher than the berm. So we lowered the fixtures. We then added about 6 fixtures as we respread the lights throughout the site to even up the light distribution and get that safe levels there throughout the site. So the illumination levels are about the same, just a little bit different distribution by the reallocation good mix of trees throughout the site. There's some comments about getting some appropriate mix, so we didn't have too many of the same trees in a row, but we also increased the evergreen tree consistency there. So we went from about 65 to about 85% of the trees are now evergreen. So, and those again are all across that southern property line and wrapping around a little bit, so it's much denser. We have some notes on the plans that we had talked about, mixing up if that was here at the PRC, but to make sure that those trees are strategically placed. So quantity-wise, we're locked in with that number of trees and mix of trees. Location-wise, we'll meet with your arborist to put those trees up into the berm and the slope where there's pockets and some missing places to really fill in and get the best value out of plantings that are going in. And with that, I'm just going to turn quickly to some sightline exhibits that we prepared in order to illustrate what's happening there. And we're going to start here. So this is, again, sightline profile exhibits. This one is from, and I'm going to make sure I say it right. It starts with Diviola. Is that right? So the end house here, running through there into the site. What you see from this one is there's not quite the same elevation change. You don't have the berm like we do towards Lever Road, but you have a lot more distance and existing vegetation in that area that's going to provide the natural screening.
What is
So
that distance?
that distance from the house to the beginning of the driveway is 3 to 350 feet. And that's the first driveway, and obviously the parking is beyond that. And then beyond that. So you have several hundred feet of existing vegetation in that area. Flip this around now, and we did a series of 3 sightline exhibits along Revere towards Lever Road. So we're starting now with the first house adjacent to the west side. Looking from that house through the berm and through the site. And here you can see some of the elevation change and the benefit of the berm. The profile section is cut, it's a little bit distorted, but that's that 20-foot berm. It comes up from their rear yards and then comes down into the site about 20 feet. And that from the house is about 100, almost 250 to 300 feet as well. More of that is the backyard, but then you get to the heavy vegetation and the berm with the landscaping that will be installed there. That landscaping again will fill space. You can see the lighted green here is existing space that doesn't have the denser vegetation. We'll put some there. We'll also spot some in on the berm with growers.
Sure. That little piece of property, which I know you said is not going to be developed, is there any way where Onyx would be able to put that as a conservation easement? So that it can never be developed, that one and the one on the other side?
I would have to check with them.
I know.
I'm trying, well, conservation easement has a very specific meaning.
Or something that will say it will never be developed. Because it goes out to the road, and theoretically, it could be developed, theoretically, because you do own it.
That's wide, it's so narrow.
It could be a driveway.
They'd have to come back before this.
No, I understand that, but if we can just stop it now, no, if he turns around and says, okay, we'll never use it, and it goes on the map, I don't know if we can do, I'm just thinking, I don't know if we can do that or not.
If the applicant is agreeable, but I don't know if that's something you can force on the applicant. It's not.
You can make it a condition.
Well.
No, if it's a condition, then they have to comply.
They have to apply. So we really can't make it a condition unless the applicant
Is willing to do it.
I'd like to just chat with my client about that, but I can do that either now or at the end, whatever is.
You can do whatever you want. All I want to do is just run it by you and your client, and just to see if they were able to do something like that. Because basically what I like to do is just make sure that that can never be developed, where all the traffic comes in the other way. Because that's, it's a residential street out in front. So you got a home on the other side. All right? Think about it.
Right.
It's not gonna be a condition, it's something for you to think about.
I have to check with my client, we
Yes,
do that
yes. I mean, I
before,
understand.
when we're done, but before you.
But you don't have to make the decision now, it's just something I'd like you to think about.
And we're gonna have to come back to you for final on this,
Yes.
because we have to go to the town board and the zoning board.
That's
So
what I'm
is
saying,
that something we
coming
could
back
let you
anyway.
know when we come back to final?
Right.
Okay.
That is, I believe it is 100 feet wide.
The other one was narrower.
Yeah. In other words, it's like, even if it's like,
I don't have a scale, but I guess that one's 50, right about
That's
that.
very steep.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we'll let you know when we come back.
Okay, thank you very much.
Come back for final. Okay?
And we'll just quickly kind of walking west to east along the rear pavers. So this is a house that's more towards the middle of the development. Similar condition though. You have the rear property line, you have the existing vegetation that is predominantly on our property, so we have the ability to maintain it. And the berm, you can see again, the berm is a little bit more pronounced here, it's a little bit wider. But it again has about that 20-foot drop into the site, so the cars and the activity and the light will be below the top elevation of the berm there. And again, you have the, and I guess what I should point out important now, while we're talking about this, is the width of that berm and vegetation is the 100-foot buffer that is required. So that is there and it's being maintained, and we're supplementing the vegetation within that buffer. Kind of telling the same story as we go further east, as we move towards one of the last houses on Weaver Road. Again, this path is only about 50 feet, but as we come in, we're now striking a little bit of an angle there just to get from the house in development area of the section. But again, more pronounced here at this end. That berm, again, about 20 feet. You've got the 100 feet of buffer that is vegetated. It will be enhanced with the proposed landscaping. All of these green symbols here are additional landscaping that will be worked with the arborist throughout. So again, we feel that the sight lines help really tell the story of the berm that's there today that will be enhanced, the modifications, the lighting, which will improve those conditions and the line of sight from those various vantage points. The final thing to touch on are some comments on stormwater management. As we heard in reading the letters a moment ago, the Brooker letter, I believe it was from the 26th, right? They had positive, no comments with regard to the stormwater design. They acknowledged that it was designed in accordance with standards. We have the ME letter, which had some questions about stormwater, which we'll just go through briefly. In comment number 1 of that letter, it does start with saying the project proposes NYSDEC approved subsurface stormwater facilities. Goes on to ask questions which we talked about here at the PRC meeting about looking into subsurface or taking the subsurface stormwater and bring that above grade. A couple things that I just kind of want to run through that we did as we evaluated this, some of the key elements of analysis. Again, as were acknowledged by DME and Brooker, the subsurface design is NYSDEC compliant. It satisfies all of their guidelines. It also is considered green infrastructure. They have infiltration basins are considered green infrastructure regardless of the size, shape, or design. There are several types of design. This is the I-4 underground, which is considered approved NYSDEC measured and is green infrastructure. Looking at alternatives to this, to having the stormwater underground, where else could we put stormwater if it were to be above ground? We just went through the buffer on the south end of the property. It's bermed, it's higher. We can't get stormwater uphill. We certainly don't To the east, similarly, we have elevation change. There are berms and stockpiles there that make that elevation higher than the parking lot today, so that sort of includes that area. So while it looks like there's green space on this property, because we're only at about 40%, where we're about 50, we're only about 40% coverage on this. That green space, not only can we, not only do we not want to put stormwater there, well, we can't because it's up gradient and it's berms, but if we can't move our development that direction to put the berms on the downhill side, because that would also, put the stormwater on the downhill side, because that would also require clear. So, the only alternative left then would be to carve out parking, reduce the development. We're already at about 80% of what we're allowed to do for coverage. We bring that down. We did look at some alternatives there, that would put the basin, at basically the downhill side, of the development. Keep in mind, there are several easements that run, one runs through the property and one runs along the west side of the property that keep us from, again, selecting just anywhere on site for that. So if we were to put above ground basins here compliant with DEC, which includes the pre-treatment floor base, spill into the infiltration basin and ultimately have to have a discharge downhill there, we would be in a position of losing probably about 180 spaces, or 28% of what we have, and taking away 10% of our development. So that really changes the kind of the matrix of the project and makes it probably not viable, I think, from the most important standpoint. From a land planning standpoint, we are proposing something that satisfies the DEC, that satisfies the zoning standards by being significantly less than 50% allowed, and provides good circulation for the access points. So I think the underground stormwater management is appropriate here, probably more appropriate here than in some other situations. So we'll look for the board to consider this application as presented.
Thanks, Rob.
Let me go through the result. Project review, has no additional comments. Office of Building and Zoning, Attorney Jane Slavin, March 25th. She has 4 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, March 25th. Please, and has total of 27 comments. We also have a letter from the Bureau of Fire Prevention, January 9th. I don't know if this is read in, but we'll do it anyway. They have 1 comment. I have Booker Engineering, dated March 26th, stating that the applicant provided significant information to demonstrate that potential significant impact with respect to drainage can be mitigated. Therefore, recommend that Onyx Equities LLC site plan be approved for drainage, subject to the above project comments. I believe there are 7. Okay, I have a letter from Diane Meyer, dated March 25th. I have another letter from Diane Meyer, it looks like an email, dated March 25th. Okay, she's complaining about how stock is going. And I also have a letter from you guys, Steph Montalval, on January 16th. I don't know if that was read in or not in the last meeting. So I think this is just an answer from,
Yeah.
I think, the January
I
meeting.
think it's February.
February 16th.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
yeah.
All right, I also have a letter from Dynamic Engineering, dated February 16th also. I think it's just a rebuttal from prior meeting.
Tom, you got another letter from
Yes.
Savant?
I think I have to read this in. This is from Robert Jablonski, dated March 26th. I am able to attend a meeting regarding Onyx, but I have the following 3 questions for the planning board. Where will the tractor trailers hold the cars from entering, exiting 64 Lever Road or 140 Lever Road? What measures does Raytheon intend to take when car horns are blasting all night, all hours of the night? And 3, where will the electricity come from for this subdivision, i.e. has Con Ed been consulted? So, anyone, anything else? Thank you very much. comments?
Just a comment about the landscaping, above what you did, it serves a purpose. I think it should provide a good buffer between the houses that are on the property line. That's all I really have.
Thank you, Lisa.
Yeah, the biggest concern, that we had last time, we did address the whole, in terms of the screening, and the lights, lowering the lights, sounds like a good idea. The only other question I have about the lights, are they going to be on all, like, what are the hours that the lights are going to be on all night? Are they turned off at a certain time?
With parking lot lights?
The parking lot lights, yeah.
Yeah, I believe you'll be on, it's very good.
Dusted on.
Dusted on?
Yeah.
And it's all down lighting?
Yeah.
I assume,
yes.
That's well, great. I appreciate the sightline views, and I asked about those, so, that would be take off for, and, that's that.
Mike?
Okay, first one on the letter regarding 64 and 140 Weaver, they're not gonna be used. There's nothing to do with tractor trailers there, and no tractor trailers are gonna be parked on the, overnight on the parking facility. There's not gonna be use of horns there, they're going to be using they don't own spots on their own walks.
Correct. The track.
They were going to specific spots, charge them up, with a small charge to get them 2 blocks away, so they'd be prepped and fully charged. And it's O&R, and that's where the electricity's coming from, answer that one. So one thing, the consultant dynamic engineering, 21624 number 9, states problems with the driveway as per DEME 12324 comments were corrected. However, DEME on 325 24 number 9 indicates correction is not made. But that was done on the driveways, the problems that have to do with the drainage along the sides.
That's a good question. I forgot to point that out. So one of the other things that we did in revision to the plans was the 2 driveways that lead, again, down gradient here. We added drains the way we designed it. We have a slight pitch to the driveways to one side, so one inlet collects it on one side. Same thing on the east side, it'll be slightly pitched so that there's one inlet collecting runoff. I believe his recommendation is that we put a slate crown on, put an inlet to collect on either side, just get a little bit more collection there, which we have no problem doing. In addition to that, we have some pretreatment on there. He's requesting to get 80%. We looked at this holistically, that the entire site provides the appropriate water quality and water quantity attenuation, as opposed to looking at individual inlets and how they function.
That clarifies that, because it was like a contradiction. It was on the one side and the crowd rather than the slope. And, we get to Rockland County, we ask for the overrides again.
Yeah, that was in my,
Landscape Island and Burns area.
yeah, it was numbers 12 and 13 in their previous, in Rockland County's previous letter.
Okay, I think they're in the current ones, we may want to.
I don't have a new letter from Rockland County. There's one from January, and I haven't seen
Yeah, I
it.
think it's, no, this is the second one, right?
No.
Okay, that's one.
Right, so it's numbers 12 and 13 in their site plan letter from
You have
January.
reconfirmed those, correct? Okay. Okay, you have to redo the perk test, I think?
That's that.
Oh.
Yes, yeah.
Yes,
Yes,
more
absolutely.
lawyers doing
Oh,
testing.
okay.
And we've discussed that with Bruce. Number 1, we have to wait till wet season.
Correct.
Number 2, we want to get through, and this is what we discussed at PRC, we want to get through a preliminary approval, so we know that this is the design that we're going to proceed with. We'll do the perk test. We are ready to go next week if we're lucky enough tonight to.
Well, you might wanna wait to get the zone.
Yeah, and that'll be a business
If you-
decision for
If
client.
zoning changes it, then we might have to redo them.
fair point. Takes 40 days to get on zoning, so they'll have to
Again,
decide what they
just
want to do.
remember that,
Yeah.
because zoning has to pass the setback requirements.
Right. No, that's a fair point.
And if they either request a change, meet in the middle, whatever that conversation becomes, again, they may vote yes, who knows, but you may need to move them, your locations.
Yep.
So,
Okay,
keep
well,
that in mind.
Yep.
Yeah,
That's that.
it's a balance of getting to that point or not doing tests in August. So we gotta
Right.
figure out how to do that.
Okay,
So
thank you.
we'll work on that.
You'll be on zoning before August.
They don't meet in this problem.
Yeah.
And I see also.
I mean, it is only March, people.
We've already submitted change to the hours of operation, Monday to Friday, it's 8 AM to 6 PM, Saturdays 9 to 5, and obviously the days of operation. I guess that last time.
Yep.
We weren't sure about the change exactly. That's all, thank you very much.
Oh, yeah, just a couple comments. I know last time I had an issue, just, you put the parking in the worst area along the residential line, but you know, the plantings are good, the sight lines are good. But, you know, like I pointed out in Jane's letter, you know, it should be 200 feet distance, you know, the setback and buffer. That's why you got to seek a variance for that. And, you know, that provides space for the residential areas when it's up against a big commercial area like that. So, I mean, if there was a building there, we wouldn't even be discussing this, but it's a parking lot, and the sight lines are good, but I still have concerns about how close it is into the, I guess you need a setback and a buffer.
Right.
And where are you? You're at the buffer, but you're,
It gets a little funky because of the zoning
The
line
zoning.
becomes where you measure it from, so
so you're.
the plan is the plan, but if the number gets a little scary on the variance, but the
Yeah.
plan isn't, it's not a different plan than if the number were the smaller number, you know what I'm saying?
You'd have to move it closer to the, you'd have to get rid of some spots, right, to comply with the 200 feet? You seek the variance for what, setback?
Yes,
Yeah.
but it's also the buffer, but the buffer gets measured from the zone line, so it makes it seem like it's a bigger variance than it kind of really is in reality, if that makes sense. And that's how we're gonna present it to the zoning board.
Rob,
No, I got-
can you point to where the actual zoning line is? So in this case,
Sure. So,
they're at a disadvantage because typically the zoning line is on a property line. In this case, the zoning line is set into their property. So they're being penalized by where the zoning line is.
Right.
This is their,
Yeah, no, I understand, but that's why you seek the variance.
Correct, but the number makes it seem like a bigger the variance is what it is, but as Jane said, because the zoning line is into the site, we're kind of losing that credit, so to speak, for that area,
Yeah.
because you measure it from into the site, not the usual property line. And we're gonna have to kind of go through that with the zoning board and
Yeah.
make the case that when you look at the line of sites, and you balance, the zoning board does their balancing test, hopefully they'll appreciate the screening and berm and all that.
Yeah, and it will help, especially with the lights being lower and.
And we're gonna make the same point you made, it's not a building.
Yeah, no, if it was a building, it'd be,
Parking lot.
it's a parking lot, so let's talk about the parking lot real quick. And this is just storage for the electronic vehicle.
Correct, the vehicles will be delivered up to here, customer orders it online, has a little bit of a charge in it, they have a portable charger if they need to. They bring it down to the service center, down at 800, and customer goes to 800, picks it up. No charging up here, the customer will never come up to this site, it's just tractor trailers, drops cars off,
Just
they sit
storage
in their
area.
assigned spot.
So the
Until they're ready to
daily
pick up.
cycle of cars and employees are happening somewhere else?
All
Any other?
at 800.
Yeah.
Right, the only thing happening up here is the 1 to 3 car carriers over the course of the whole day. During those hours, they're not Sundays, less hours on Saturday than the hours we ordered. Come, drop the car off, the truck leaves, back out to 303, and as the EVs are picked up and needed, they're driven down the hill to 800.
And there's a thing like where there's an end to this business, is it a certain time of night where nothing's happening?
Yeah, it's, let me just go back to
8
hours.
AM to 6 PM.
Right, Monday through Friday, 8 to 6, Saturday 9 to 5, closed Sundays.
And if those are business hours, is that also concerned with the trucks coming in and out, delivery hours?
That's my understanding, but let me double check with Vivian. It's 39 hours.
And we can make sure, we can make that a condition too, that after 6 p.m. there's no truck traffic, there's no coming in and out.
Yep, that's my understanding. Vivian's saying yes.
What's, so every time I look at a project, you look at how many comments Bruce Peters has.
Yes, we do.
So, I mean, that's what I do, I mean, just to see how he feels about it. How do we get past number 1, where his last sentence is, all proposed stormwater management facilities shall be above ground systems?
Well, I think, I'll let Rob address this,
Is that
but
subjective?
we believe it is actually, because if you read his first sentence, number 1, that the project proposes DEC approved subsurface stormwater facilities. I think his preference is that we did above ground, but both he acknowledges it's compliant and Brooker acknowledges it's compliant. And as Rob Prude just went through, we looked at what the impact would be to have above ground. You know, obviously, we don't want to clear cut the berm.
You'd have to.
Grades, there's other
You'd have
areas.
to have less parking.
We would lose almost 200 spaces, and that would not really serve Rivian's purposes here with the volume that the service center needs to support. It's a regional service center. So it really would make the site completely.
Just, I'm sure you know that would be a condition of any approval, just how you balance that condition with a preliminary, any preliminary approval you get. So I wonder how you balance that next time you go through anyway.
For final.
Yeah,
Yeah.
essentially you have to clear that up with him.
Yep.
Then he talks about number 10, I don't know, they might talk about this, your stormwater system design, provide more stormwater catchment facilities? Yes. All right, that's what Mike was talking about? So you'll have to add that to the plans and,
Let me just say something in respect to Bruce Peters, number 12. It says, in connection with the above comment number 1 above, if the revised stormwater management system proposes to utilize infiltration basins, the applicant's engineer is reminded that as per New York State DEC SNDM, the bottom of the infiltration facility shall be separated by at least 3 feet of vertical from the seasonal high water table or bedrock, as documented by an on-site soil test.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because there's several comments, kind of from number 11 all the way down to number 14,
Respect to one.
that have that same construct. If
Yeah.
the system uses underground infiltration, then you have to do this.
so there's that,
So he's kind of acknowledged that there's 2 ways to do it,
Right.
and the way we're doing it complies, but it has to meet certain conditions because it's underground. I don't know if you want to add anything, Rob.
No, that's spot on. I think that's the way I'm reading his letter, as he opens first sentences, he's
yeah, that's what, like,
compliant.
that first one's
And then
like,
he
boom, and then he's like, well, if you don't
says
do it
that,
that
but then he
way.
circles back
I think
around
that's what
to,
he's looking for, he's looking around. I think, I mean, I'm not a mind reader. So as long as you can comply, I don't know what he might be with his.
I wasn't what he was saying at the PRC, but
Yeah.
I'm confident the engineers can work it out as long as the lawyers.
Well, you gotta beat him up, so I mean, that's just that.
Oh, that's all I have for now.
Thank you.
So I think the sightline would really help. Just want to clarify, the berm, are you touching that or demoing it or doing anything
No.
with it at all?
If anything, yeah.
just spot
Just
planting.
adding landscaping
Just spot
and
planting,
stuff.
no.
So with the sight lines, what are the dash lines across? I think it's not on that one, so,
Oh, that, yeah.
On the cross section?
yeah, on the cross section, are those like just from the top of the berm, just to get
Yeah.
perspective? All right.
You're talking about this darker dash line here?
Yeah,
So, yeah, we struck a line from the top of the berm, so that's the grade. Obviously, there's vegetation above that, that's gonna help screen and shield, but that's the top of the berm. That just shows, you can see the light fixtures, you can see cars, in there, they're all below that line. That's just to help
Gotcha.
explain the graph.
okay, that's all. Good enough.
Yeah, I got a couple things. So the drainage, everything looks to be pointing north and going to, towards the 800 building. I drove by there before, and like right in the middle of the building, or in that back parking lot, it's kind of cracked, and there's some moss growing out through the cracked pavement. So there's probably a lot of infiltration getting down there now. It was a nice rainy day to go look at it today. So I would expect that's probably gonna continue. So just, whatever your final design is, you should probably take a look at.
On the 800 property or on this property?
on the 800, the 800 building is,
It's not on that plan.
no,
It's all the way down the hill.
the one down, right. So I drove around the one down there, right?
That's actually, not the 800 building.
Yeah, that's not.
No, this is 400.
That's
All
Airco.
right, so that's the
800 is
Amazon
the
building?
service.
No,
That's
that's
a different,
Airco.
that's a different site.
That's 100.
Uh,
800, we have the figure,
Uh,
I think we showed it last
So-
time.
That's a separate site and a separate business,
Okay,
and when they do their drainage design,
yeah.
they're not permitted to have
Here you
any
go.
runoff go onto
This,
their
this is the
property.
one, we showed you this last time, so, let's see, where are we? 60, we're up here, 800 is down
All the way over here.
here.
Here, I got it.
Oh, okay, there you go.
So, everything in blue is part of the campus site.
I mean, wherever I was at, I.
Yeah,
I had
you're-
my
you're
GPS
thinking
out,
of
and it
Short
showed me
Time.
where I was, right?
That's where it
When
is.
I running up the hill, I was running up the hill, I saw the, you know,
Okay.
the flat spot, I saw the two things. Anyway, that parking lot on the back, on the lower end is kind of cracked in the middle with the moss growing out, okay? So just something to look at. and-
I will certainly take a look.
Right, but the drainage
Response
design
to
should
actually-
stop that.
Okay,
You know,
well,
that's the site that's approved, the work is not done yet down there.
understood.
So they're gonna put in the EV chargers down there, and then they're gonna do the complete paving and clean that up
Okay.
before they open.
And I would just, to add to what you're saying, right now, it's essentially uncontrolled from the top of the hill down, right? Everything just generally is sheet flowing down. As we do this, we'll have curbing, we'll have collection, and then we'll have specific discharges into the underground system. So we should be significantly improving what's running. That's another reason we're looking to avoid going to above ground, because above ground would have spillways that would then potentially go down the hill. So this gets it all into an underground system, and will probably reduce the runoff down the hill and help fix with that problem.
All these drawings that, are all those trees the existing trees, or are they the new trees? All the sightline drawings that you came up with? Are they the new, are they the existing?
It's both, it all. So what's taller here, this is the existing? So what you see here, a little bit later taller is the existing vegetation.
Okay.
And then we've put in here the proposed vegetation on the side. So it shows a little bit lower because that planting, it'll be about 8 feet or so. And then most of the evergreens that we picked, though, they're gonna grow pretty fast. They're gonna get a foot or two a year. So they'll fill in very quickly.
I think that would be a good graphic to show where, you know, the new ones and how they're gonna come.
A couple years down the road.
Then last thing about the lighting, I know we lowered them, are they all facing north? Everything's facing north, there's nothing facing,
Well, they're all, you know, none of these are spotlights. They're all new LED,
okay.
downward focus, so you're not gonna have glare or anything. So we have lights along the southern curb line, so they're generally pointed down and out north, right? And then there are some in the middle that they're pointed down, but they're gonna have a spread. But nothing is pointed behind. If you were to go to the lighting plan, the limit of lighting without even modeling trees is just behind the curb. It doesn't even come close to where the berm is or the residential line.
That's all I have.
Okay, I know you have 633 spots you can enter now?
Yes.
Okay, so let's say you only get 400 electric cars, that's, well, I know you have plans for 600, but it's not gonna happen overnight. There's no plan to like lease the extra spots out to other dealerships,
No, the lease is between Onyx and Rivian for this purpose.
just for electric vehicles?
Yes,
So
and
you can't
actually
put
the application
You can't
ties
put
it,
gas vehicles there? or-
yeah, the application that we filed originally with Jane was for an accessory parking lot tied to 800 Bradley Hill Road, which is the service center.
Okay.
They
I
can't
think-
sublease it without
Okay.
approval.
Yeah, we couldn't,
Yeah.
even if we wanted to, Onyx
Just a
couldn't do
question.
that.
Thank you.
Yeah, fair question, thank you.
Just to go back to the light, you dropped the height of the lights to 20 foot, so they're about the same height as the ground. And then the trees that you're planting will go 25, 30 feet high.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so. Good, thank you.
step for the site plan for Onyx. If you do step up, state your name. Your name and address, please.
Dan Fuller, 120 Weaver Road. I'd first like to thank the board and Jane and everybody to work with the group here to make the changes or request changes. And it does seem like they worked very hard to get some things done. I do have a question. I don't know if this is an open forum, but when it states sightlines, what does that mean? Is that from the street? Is that from my second floor windows? Where did the sightlines get taken from?
So
Rob,
what we have.
address the board then, Rob?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Address the chairman?
Do me a favor. Did you back up to your map?
Does he have more questions, or you want to answer them all at once? or-
Yeah, everything's got to be addressed to the board.
So what this is, it's called a sight line. It's essentially a section through, so we've used available GIS topography plus our on-site topography to identify the contouring. So we're showing the house going back through this heavier line is the property line as you move north through here, and then we're showing the contouring that shows the berm. So everything is you're looking like you cut a section, cut a slice right through the earth, right? So you have the ground surface and it's ups and downs through the berm, and then through, this is our proposed grade, which is the pavement.
Then what he's asking is, what's the height that you're taking for at the house? Is it 6 feet up? or-
So it's, the line that's drawn here is really just a line from the top of the berm to show that everything is below that. As far as actual sight lines, we didn't pick a particular, we didn't draw a particular line from someone standing in the backyard or someone on the second floor or anywhere on the property. We're really just showing that those elements are below the height of the berm and several hundred feet away.
And the fact is, below the height of the berm, maybe Rob, you can explain what that would mean for somebody at the house or in the, or behind the house.
I think if you're in the backyard of any of these right here, especially the ones on Weaver Road, that 20-foot high berm that comes down to our site afterwards, you're gonna have to look up over the berm. So you would think the line of sight, you're looking up 20 feet to that, your line of sight continues up. So that's why we drew this line to show that everything would be below that.
Basically, it's 14 feet higher than a 6-foot person. Right?
Yes.
That's what, so if you put it in human scale, if a 6-foot man is standing in that backyard, he's looking up an additional 14 feet.
So you can sight lines from a house are different than standing in your backyard. So the elevation of the houses on Weaver Road sit up.
No, I understand. Let me just ask you, Joe, what, roughly, what are the height of those existing trees? The ones not on the berm, the ones towards the house, those, roughly,
I would
ballpark.
carefully, I mean, they've gotta be, the neighbors probably know better than I do.
I do know better, yeah. They're probably 30, 40, 50 feet high.
So if you look out of your house, you're looking through
I'm
30
looking
foot-
straight at the berm from my deck. From my deck, which is first floor, I'm looking straight at the berm. And then we've got the second floor where we can basically, we're above the berm. And again, I appreciate the lowering from 25 to 20 because that's gonna help. But from our upper floors, I don't think the sightlines were taken from upper floors. So I just thought I would mention that to the board and bring that up as a possible concern. I don't know what it means, but the trees are very big. They're fully grown in that backyard in front of the berm. Okay, so like I said, if I'm standing in my backyard, I can see berm. If I'm up on my first floor, I see berm. I don't see trees because they're so tall. And that's all over Weaver Road too. So.
And we're also filling in the lower
They are putting more
breaks.
trees in there.
Yeah, so that's my second part of this is, it would be greatly appreciated, I don't know if we know the arborist and working with the arborist, but putting as many trees on the berm is, I think, should be a condition to try to fill in as much on that berm as possible, because an 8-foot tree isn't gonna grow to 30 feet in a couple of years, or in 1 or 2 years. It's gonna be a long time before a small 8-foot is gonna grow high enough, I think, to close that in. So.
What size trees are you putting in? 8 to 10 foot?
8, I'm not sure if they're 8 to 10, I'll check the plan.
One of those trees are green giants at 8 foot, they grow 3 feet a year.
These are cypress or 3 feet a year.
So.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
This is not the standard protocol.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you, sir.
We'll address that.
Okay, moving on. So the house, sorry?
3 minutes,
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Wow. Anyone else? Step forward, state your name and address for the record, please.
Andrew Cavanola,
Wait, spell your last name, Andy.
Cavaniola,
And your address.
134 Weaver Road.
Okay, go ahead, Andy.
Someone had made a comment that the berm was not being touched or altered. In my backyard, which is actually that home right on the easement right there, there is a pretty big gap in the berm that's not there. I don't know if it was left open for the original easement to have access to that lot, but there's no berm. So on that angle that if you're looking into the parking lot, it's wide open. I don't know if there's any plans to fill in that section of the berm, or just fill it in with trees, but if you just fill it in with trees, that 20-foot that's being parked on, from sightlines and all that stuff, it just doesn't exist. So that would be important for me, because it doesn't matter how low, putting the lights, I'll be able to see right through that berm. The other thing is, one gentleman brought up conservation on those easements. For me personally, living on that easement, that would be a huge alleviation stress, because having a driveway with potential of anything, especially with a commercial lot or anything, would be an absolute nightmare. Having any type of car drive through those two lots between us, so I really like that idea.
And the gentleman said that they were never gonna use either one of them.
I hear you.
He said that, okay, but I asked them again to reconfirm it, and if possible, put it into some type of legal document, if it's possible at all. I don't know if it's possible, it's just something that I had in my mind, okay? So I think that they're looking at it, because the gentleman talked to the applicant, and I don't know what happened, but anyway, they're gonna look into it. As respect to the berm being broken, do you know anything about that? Where there's an area where the berm is not?
Yeah, there is an area where it's lower than the rest of it, for whatever reason.
Yeah, it's not lower, it's just not there.
It's not
Mr.
there for
Chairman.
whatever reason.
We can't do this.
Yeah, we can't go back and forth, we'll set everything at the end.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That's all.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, state your name and address for the record.
Kirsty Tinto, 60 Weaver Road.
What's your name?
Kirsty
Can you spell
Tinto, Kirsty-Tinto,
And your address again.
60 Weaver Road.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had a couple of comments. One was about, I've been trying to follow the stormwater discussion. From the first line of sight image, it's clear that the 60 Weaver Road property, which is the one that is the trees that are between the to be developed land and the house that's in it. It's clear that we're downhill from that. So I'm concerned about this back and forth about stormwater, that it isn't perhaps what was asked in that corner, because that's the corner that would affect our property. So I'd like to understand that better. I'm delighted to see that the easement is not going to be developed. That's really important for the big meeting house that is sitting there. And lastly, on a larger scale, there are spotted flies in the area, and the cars being stored here could be a significant vector for the state. And so I think that should be mentioned and considered when all these trees are being planted. Don't let them be tree of heaven, but I don't know what other trees might be significant for those pests. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else? Can I have a motion to close the public?
Motion for public
And a
comment.
second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. Okay. Can I have a motion to lead agent?
Motion to lead agent.
Can we address somebody now?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, sure.
Now's the time. Yeah.
Regarding the stormwater, they're talking about on the other side of the berm, it's nothing to do with the other side of the berm. You're not touching anything on the other side of the berm. They're talking about the flat area down below. That's what they're discussing on the parking lot area. That's what they're talking about, stormwater runoff, stormwater detention. Nothing on the legal side of that berm at all, number one. Number two, that whole berm seems like it's been there for who knows when that berm was put up there. They're going to be planting trees in where there's openings along the thing. There's 250 91 trees that are gonna be planted along there. Most of them are, 85% of them are gonna be evergreens. And if you look at the species, quite a few of them grow anywhere from 2 to 3 feet a year. Green giant arborvitaes, leafless cypress, other trees like that, they grow very quickly, they fill out quite well. So and they sort of have a good height.
And also they work with arborists to
Right,
find the gap.
Right.
Field placement.
right. And as far as the lights are, that's down 20 feet, and they're down lights, they're not lights that you see in the streets, not street lights. They're down lighting, the lights will shine down, it's meant for a specific area. There's a lighting plan that shows when you get to the end of their property, it's just about down to zero. You don't see it unless you're gonna go look, you'll see it down there, but it's not gonna affect the lighting in your backyard. And this is those questions.
So just another comment. As part of your landscaping and planting, it wouldn't be a big task to maintain that berm the same level across all the property lines on Lincoln Road. So if there is a problem where there is a gap in the berm.
You can do it with vegetation.
Well, that's what I'm saying, there'd be no issue with making that a condition, that maintaining the
Mr.
berm
McCrory,
across the whole.
that may affect that site drainage in that area. So right now, that berm may have been stopped in that area for a reason. I have to go back to the subdivision. If you plant a berm where there isn't a berm, it's gonna stop the natural flow of water. So that might actually cause the neighbor's property to start flooding.
Just sort of, it might be something to look into while you're doing the landscaping, with all the trees that are gonna be in that area. And would there be any issue, like you brought up before, with the conservation easement for those? We can.
That's something I'll come back
Yeah.
and send.
No,
So
we're
coming back and look into that.
I know other properties do it, you know.
Can't force them to do it.
It's not just a suggestion like any,
As well.
anything we're doing here. But that'd be something, especially if the neighbors' concerns and.
Certainly, yeah, understood, we will look into that, but the site plan before you and our representations are that there's no plans to use those driveways, so we'd have to come back. I'm not saying there are no plans to use the driveway, but even if we wanted to, we'd have to come back
Right.
to the board for another public process where you would remind us that we said we're never going to use those driveways. But I understand the question, and I have to look into it with my client for final.
Yeah, if it's something that's an easy fix, and you guys don't mind doing it, we appreciate it, that's all.
Understood.
Anybody else? We did vote, we voted. Motion for lead agency, please? Motion for lead agent.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none? Motion for neg deck?
Motion to make that.
Second? Second. All in favor?
All right.
Okay, motion for preliminary with conditions?
Motion for preliminary.
Excuse me. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, James Slavin, March 25th. Four comments. Department of Environmental Management, County of Orangetown, Bruce Peters, March 25th. He has 27 comments. Letter from Bureau of Fire Prevention, January 9th, comment. And I have letters, but they were the letter. Huh? Yeah. Booker again, yeah, where was it? Did you have it? And Booker, March 26th, he has 7 comments.
Excuse me, Chairman.
Yes.
Just a couple of additional items, the 2 items for the Rockland County override, as well as we're asking the board to consider waiving Akabor since no new building is proposed, and also approving parking in the required yard, which is item 1 in the Slavin's memo, which this board is allowed to approve as part of site review, as opposed to it needing a variance.
The way the code reads,
Excuse me?
the way the code reads, I quoted the section of the code,
Right,
number
right.
1, parking in any required yard is permitted at site plan review and approval of the planning board. If you speak that.
I don't know if that's preliminary or maybe a final, after
No,
the variance?
no, preliminary,
Yeah,
it'd be preliminary, or they have to seek a variance.
The override or or just leave it,
It's not an override.
would be a approval.
Right.
All right, so it would be a motion to permit parking in the required yard. Would that be the appropriate word for that?
Yes.
Which yard is parking?
Yeah, you can just read my comment, quotes section of the code.
Okay, table 3.11 LO District Column 7, number 3, no parking is permitted in any required yard unless permitted by any board or town agency having jurisdiction. This permission may begin at the time of the site review. So the motion would be to grant permission for the parking in the site.
Right, they still have to obtain the variances for the buffer requirements.
And they have still go to the ZBA for the buffer requirements.
Correct.
Yes.
Which are my additional comments,
Right.
and you would need a second.
Second? We have a second on the motion.
That's just for this.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Okay, so now you have to do the overrides.
Okay, that'll look me up now, so we can go back to the original. That was the January meeting, I think?
Yes.
Page two.
Meeting was the 24th, but the day of their memo may have been.
It is January 18th,
January.
page 2.
Whoa, hey,
Yeah.
You're asking regarding Rockland County Department of Planning, January 18, 2024. You're looking for an override on number 12 and number 13.
Correct.
As far as 12R, there were breaks put into separating the parking area into 3 distinct areas as per request by the fire department. So that is an override, so that's ready, we need a second on it. That's the motion. We have a second?
We have a second? All in favor?
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, number 13. It's hard to read, it's all,
They're recommending porous pavers or porous concrete be considered to replace the use of conventional asphalt.
Do that again, please?
oh, okay.
Come on, that's a mouthful here.
It's recommended that porous pavers or porous concrete be considered to replace the use of conventional asphalt.
Now, the interesting, if you look at the following comments, and we've heard this from Bruce Peters, if installed correctly and properly maintained. The problem with porous pavement is that over time, the pores fill in.
And so
Just by regular sediment, from even from rain, from runoff, all that. If it's not clean, and I mean clean, it has to be vacuumed, basically. If it's not done, it becomes as solid as asphalt. So Bruce Peters doesn't like that as a solution.
So that thing would be over time, porous pavers and porous concrete would lose their ability to absorb water, and therefore we requested,
Why is
make
it
a motion to
override?
override.
Override if it's just a suggestion?
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah.
consideration. They're
Right.
asking to be considered.
Yeah.
It doesn't say must.
Okay.
So we don't need to override.
All right, so we don't need that, okay.
Yeah, we were being conservative with
Yes.
the request.
Yeah, no. Anything else?
The waiver of act more was conservative.
Motion to override,
Motion to waive application.
Second. Second, okay. All in favor? Aye.
I'm
Opposed?
going to oppose. I think Act Four should maybe take a look at the lighting plan and see what the effects of lights are gonna be. But that's one objection, that's all.
It passed.
Don't pass.
Didn't we?
abstain or you gonna, okay,
You
so.
can object,
Oh,
yeah,
you
but
can.
it
Oh,
did,
no.
it did, yeah,
So
they
it's-
voted already.
Yeah,
so
we
it's
voted
6-1.
And just so you understand, ultimately, the planning board has jurisdiction over that.
Understood.
Okay.
Okay, another condition, no EV charging stations to be permitted in the parking area unless we turn to the planning board with a request to do so. Second, Barry seconds that, in favor?
Okay, all in favor, aye?
Hold on.
Any opposed? None?
You know, that, you can take, catch up to us.
Use operating hours.
So they have it,
But like, I don't know if you mentioned truck, but right, no truck or car traffic after 6 p.m. operating hours.
Yeah, that's, they already said that, their hours.
Yeah, what they said.
You're saying
Yeah.
it.
Well, you're saying it again.
Mr. McCrory is requesting to make, proposing to make it a condition.
So the condition is there's no operating of vehicles outside of Monday to Friday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and Saturdays, 9 to 5.
Correct.
All vehicles, delivery trucks are permitted to be operating during those hours, but no other time.
And closed on Saturday.
Correct.
You have to have a second, if that was a motion.
I opened up. Need a second? Need a second on
Okay,
that?
second, you want a second on that? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? None? Okay.
A second on,
Huh?
need a second on preliminary.
Okay, do I have a second on preliminary? Second. Okay, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None? Okay, sir.
So we're going off to the town board on the water course diversion permit, and the zoning board on those variances, so we'll see you when we see you. Hopefully in a few months.
Seth, you can apply for them concurrently.
The town board and zoning board? Okay. If not tomorrow, it'll be Friday. Appreciate the time.
Okay, thank you guys, you did a good job.
Thank you. Nice holiday weekend.
Okay, next is, Lion Arch site for the DD 24 and
My mom's name is Mary, which makes whenever she uses a credit card, oh, it's more understandable.
Thank you very much. There's an office, so maybe we want to do that.
Their legs are projected into our houses. And or do I have to come back for something like that?
There you go.
I think it should be telling the building that it should be facing their building. You know,
It's about the only word I know. What's that? Walpole.
I know it's established already. Okay, cool. Thanks. All right.
It's the Italian, I don't know.
it's funny because my son had to exchange his when she was in Argentina. hell did you get one? Stupid J.
But no, you.
Oh, you. Yes, sir, what can I help you with?
And there's a lot of vowels, a lot of vowels.
Isn't it from hot to cold and hot to cold?
Okay, let's go.
Okay, for the record, Ryan Nash from Axel Nash and Ziegler. We are the engineers and the surveyor. We have
Okay,
team.
Sir, we're having a meeting, please. If you want to talk, please go outside, I'm sorry.
Let them know they don't have to sit here. That's all.
Yes, sir.
Okay, once again, Ryan Nash here from Axel Nash and Ziegler. We are the engineers and the surveyor. We have team, he's the architect for the project. We have team, he's the owner representative. Is that correct? So tonight we are presenting Wovo fine storage. Is basically a warehouse, existing building. The scope of the work is fairly small. What they're proposing is an outdoor mechanical room, generator, loading bank, and air handling unit. Due to this proposed improvement, there's going to be some impervious area to be proposed. It's about 763 square footage. The way we handled the drainage, we took existing parking lot out. It's about 810 and put as a grass landscape. Okay, so that's where we show the drainage is not required because it's going to show the less flow to the proposed improvement. Total number of trees going to be removed, 3 of them, and we propose landscaping just to provide the enough screen. The number of the landscaping we have, I have a picture, I will show it to you. So basically, 9 is to the front of the parking space where we're going to do landscaping. It's Lexi, Labra, Shamrock. Okay.
You're putting those by the generators area.
No, it's to the other side. This is the air handling, correct? Yeah. So we have the landscaping. So this shamrock, this is small guys over here, and blue pencil, there's 3 of them, is right behind it. 1, 2, 3. So that's going to really provide the another screen. We also prepared the option of the sediment control plan just for the construction of that outdoor equipment area. And those are all for the DEC code, putting the cracking pad, siltons around it. So when they do the actual construction, doesn't have any sediment leaving the site. They're going to maintain on the site. Since the scope is so small, and then we have the landscaping plan, we are especially asking if we could really get the waiver or going to the applicable.
Real quick, I'd like to see where the generators are, at least 4 ballasts there, protected generators, because you got parking right there.
We have no problem. We went to the PRC meeting, and the fire inspector, he wanted 2 of them. We have no problem to increase the number. 4 is fine. We have no problem. We'll be happy to accommodate. It's not a problem. So right now, I have the location for the boiler over here, so I could do.
Well, I think it'll, because I see you have the load bank and the generator, so if you cover that whole thing.
I could do that.
Just for protection, that it's just
So
for your.
Chairman, for the load bank is really farther away. The closure is really the generator. I think you know.
I understand, but you get somebody jumps the curb,
That's fine.
like the boss says he isn't here.
Okay. All right. No problem. We'll be happy.
Just better protection.
Yeah, that's fine. 4 of them. That's fine.
Matches up by the generator and low bank.
Yeah. Okay, let me read the consultant report. Project review has no additional comments. Office of Building and Zoning, Jane Slavin, March 25th. She has 2 comments. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, March 25th. Bruce Peters has 1. Booker Engineering, March 19th. Drainage review recommendation. The applicant has provided significant information to demonstrate that there is no potential significant impact with respect to drainage and require mitigation. We therefore recommend that UBO fine art site plan be approved for drainage subject to the above comments, of which there are 5. Bureau of Fire Prevention, Town of Orangetown, March 11th, they have 1. Rockland County Sewer District Number 1, March 25th, they have 1. And I have a letter from George Chilenick. Sorry if I messed up the name, I apologize. It's dated March 20th. He lives at 60 Kings Highway, Orangetown. And I have the short. You know, one?
Yeah.
Okay. Shorty, I also have a letter from Ashley Nash and Ziegler dated February 20th, okay, which is the application. And what's that? Caitlin, anything else?
Yep.
Thank you. Amy, anything?
Yeah, I noticed on your site plan, you note that there's a stream that goes all the way around, or 3/4 of the way around. What stream is that? It's not like, it's just a stream. Is it running water all the time? Or,
Is that labeled as a swell, or which page you are looking at?
West, the one that goes around the back. That's how I'm assuming.
Yeah, it's a drainage.
I mean,
page 3?
okay, so,
Well, it's on page 3, page 3. It says stream. Stream.
yeah, looks like it is a stream.
Yeah, essentially, it's labeled stream.
But is that running water all the time, or is it just,
You guys will have an opportunity to speak, all right?
I mean, yeah, do we know what kind of, is there a name for that stream, or you just put stream, I don't know?
Well,
Is it just for runoff, or?
Well, the way it shows in the survey is a swell and followed by the unnamed stream. It's not any designated or classified stream, it's an unnamed water course.
I think it has to be a designated waterway, wouldn't it? Because it shows it starting as a swell, running.
There's many.
I was there before, and there was water in it, I couldn't tell which direction it was running.
Yeah.
So,
It's running northeast, and then there's another, something that
There are
comes
many-
down from another
many-
piece of property.
Right, but there are many unnamed streams in
Right.
Rockland County.
Okay.
Okay.
So basically, we could consider it as a swell, or a stream, but
Yeah,
an
it's
unnamed stream.
unnamed. That's-
Okay, unnamed stream.
So Chairman, usually if we have a big culvert, like in a 2436, that becomes a stream, and it's like 8 inch is coming from the yard drain. These are fairly like a small unnamed water.
And I see you're not going anywhere.
No, and that is not affecting by the scope of the water.
Correct.
And you're,
From
you're
what
actually
you know, it's not
reducing the
something.
impervious coverage with this
Correct.
application.
We're reducing by 47 square feet of impervious coverage.
The generator that you're proposing to put in, how big is that generator?
The,
Dimensions. I mean, I don't remember
Yeah, I
seeing
could-
any,
I could measure that.
generator or.
sure, it's,
The length is 9'5", and the width is 3'4", and the height is 6 feet.
And what KV is it?
It's,
What? What KV?
Yeah.
Oh,
How much power is it producing, you know?
Is
It's,
there,
And also the fuel.
fuel
It's diesel. Diesel fuel. And, okay,
Just to give you a little background on what this is we have a very prominent New York-based museum that's going under renovations for a minimum of the next decade, knowing how most of these museums, knowing the way most of these museums go, a decade is probably pretty optimistic, to where they're looking to take a private space in this warehouse. Part of the conditions is, we used to have our air handlers up on the roof. They didn't want any penetration, so we have removed all air handlers from the roof. We've already re-roofed it. Part of it was to put the air handlers obviously on the pad, that way they can come through the wall, have no penetrations in the roof. The generator is there just to provide backup for their space only. We already have generators for our, our key components for the building. This is just for their space. The reason there's 2 air handlers is they're redundant. We always have to have a backup, especially, we're talking, pretty nice stuff when it's a pretty prominent museum. That's kind of the background on why we're looking to put it on the ground as opposed to where it was originally on the roof. So all the roof space has been removed from that side of the warehouse.
So the are those new air handlers too?
They will be brand new.
Because I didn't see anything in a package about the generator or the air handlers, the noise of the generator or anything like that. Just,
They will have to meet town code, and if there's a question, when they're submitted for the construction drawings, they will be referred to IUC.
the landscape plan, the plants that you're gonna use are pretty good, they're deer resistant, and I would suspect you have a lot of deer in that area. So that's a good thing. I have no other further questions.
Thank you.
Further questions.
Lisa?
I don't have any other questions, so we hear from the public.
Okay, yes, couple. What type of tank are you using for the fuel storage for the diesel?
Probably completely self-contained.
So,
Yeah, it's a self-contained unit.
the double,
Is it a double wall
above ground?
tank that is an option for the?
It's a double wall belly, I believe, isn't it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, there's a double wall fuel tank as an option, so this is the one that, yeah, the double wall fuel tank.
Okay, and where this tank gets filled with the diesel oil, is there a spill containment underneath the filling area?
Didn't specify on the drawing, so, the unit sitting on the concrete pad.
We put a condition for this.
We can put a condition for having the fuel containment.
Yeah, good for the information and the as part of the condition.
Okay, now, the fuel tank itself, is it raised above the ground level? That's the, because I'm looking at the swale, part of the swale, the property slopes towards the building. So I don't know if the swale catch all the water or if it goes around it. So that's what I was looking to, do you have a height or something of this
This
range?
could be above grade. We could, so.
If you look at the,
The point is high
from 84 down to 80 on the one side of the swale. With the swale, I'm just wondering, you know, if the 80 goes around as you dropping down a bit, just take a look at that, because I want to see, you know, the heavy storm. Problem with that. Same with the air handlers, you may want to consider raising them, especially with the way the storms have been going.
No, you are right, the slope is going toward the building, and when they apply for the building permit, they're going to provide the detail for the actual, the unit. And you're gonna be above the grade, on the proposed.
Yeah, that would be the smartest thing, 'cause, no, I know about, the storage from, one of the major museums in New York did it back in the 90s, and they used another place in Queens to store their stuff while they were under renovation. I don't know if they ever finished, but I'm not aware of what is needed for that, so. Okay. And, and the other thing is, I went by your site to look to see if it was posted. And I drove into the site and I saw these poles like this, stakes in the ground, nothing on them. Drove in, came back out, parked my car, got out, walked along, and I thought maybe I see some papers on the ground. I thought maybe it was the storm. And what do I see? The car just pulled off the 3 staples, put it right next to it, all the way along. And so the site was posted. Somebody took off the signs, turned them on and face down, and put them right next to it. So the wind didn't do it, the rain didn't do it. So I just want to make on the record that it was posted. So no further. Mike?
Just a couple comments. How tall are these, the air handlers? The height-wise?
It's about 6 feet.
6 feet, all right. And then you have some like low planting, looks like they grow to 4 feet and 2 feet. So, I mean, visually, they're not gonna really cover the size of the air handlers. You know, I mean, your goal is to screen it.
Well, the shamrock is about 4 feet tall, but then
Yeah.
the blue princess will
It's
be
pretty much like, much.
like 8 to
I'm
10
going
feet
by your,
tall.
I'm going by your calculations, yeah. 2 feet and 4 feet. Yeah, so I mean, you won't, visually, you won't be screening 6 foot tall air handler with a 4 foot tall, you know, planter. That might be,
The blue princess will go up to 8 to 10 feet tall.
Yeah.
all right, that's not, you didn't put that information on here, you have?
These are initial, like, installation.
That's the
height,
installation,
and then they
That's
go
the
up.
installation size?
Yes,
All right, so that's not the maximum,
that's
right?
not maximum height, it's the installation size.
Yeah.
So along with the screenings, these things are running 24 hours a day, the air handlers, right? You gotta keep everything certain temperature.
Like I said, they're redundant, so only one will be running.
One will be running.
Yeah.
And it's not unheard of to have some kind of sound barrier, like a little, you know, it's almost like a light fence. You've seen that before.
Commercial building.
Yeah, no, I'm saying,
No residential.
I mean, across the street there is. No, but it's not unheard of that if you have these things running all day, and now they're not on the roof anymore. Only if it's even if it's commercial next door, but you have residents across the street, then you put that up there just to keep the sound down, you know? And, the generator, you can be testing that.
Yep.
The schedule would be weekly or?
Whatever the manufacturer is, I don't think it's
Right, and then you got a the town code too, when you're testing generators. But yeah, I mean, I know you're trying to do a visual screening, but I'd like to see something around those air handlers that'll keep the sound low, even if it is commercial next door. I mean, you do have a restaurant not too far over there, you have residents across the street, just to keep everybody happy. Because now you're taking the sound that was above, and now you're putting that ground level, and it's running all day, right? So just you know, I'd like to see that along with the visual screening, some sound
Question,
screening.
will the generators be running all day? No.
No, the air handlers will be running all day. And then at night, when it's real quiet, it's gonna keep running, right?
Well, it'll cycle on and off. I mean, so
Depends on
our
how
art is 70/50. We have insulated this box to a point to where realistically they don't, I mean, we have other warehouses, like, it needs to be 105 for these things to be running nonstop because we are so, I mean, we're 70/50 plus or minus 2. So, I mean, there's not a lot of leeway there. I mean, we put in 6 inches of insulation on top of the walls already, and our brick is, I think, 16 inches thick, which personally, I've done a lot of buildings. I know this is something to do with tents and the war supplies before. The brick that they built this building out of was insane, and our engineers have never really seen anything like that before. But
You gotta keep it nice and,
but I mean, the amount,
stuff,
the
right?
amount of insulation that's on it, they'll cycle on and off, but it's not gonna be a nonstop, but yeah, you're.
Yeah, it's a small aspect.
Yeah, no.
That's all I got.
One of the recommendations that I could really do, there's some room to add more blueprints that gonna help, for the sound barrier. Is that something that, we could offer? Right,
Well,
by the end of summer?
it's your call, but I know having that like screen, that plastic screening that they put up around to muffle the sound.
We already have some plastic screening out for the existing generators, so I mean, we can look into something like that.
And no, they do it just to keep the sound down, and then with the plant is more visual, really, that doesn't really keep, those plants won't keep the sound. But I appreciate you looking at that.
Sure, no problem. Thank you.
Did he say anything?
No, the generator's emergency use only.
Hopefully it never goes on.
Hopefully, yeah, that's all.
Alright, that's all.
I realize you're reducing the impervious, which is good. These gray areas that are noted around a stream, what's the significance of that? Is that where they kind of overflow, or what are these? Like as you follow a stream around here?
Usually, it could be the slope. We have the legend for the slope here, it's between, it's about 25%, steep slope area, basically. If you look at the left at the bottom, page number
Okay, got it. Okay.
page number 2 in the site plan,
So
there
it's
is the
not like
legend for
like an
the
overflow
slope.
area. All right.
Yeah, it shows the topography, how is it there.
Gotcha.
And that's existing to remain, you're not changing
Existing, we're
anything?
not touching anything, remain as is.
Just saying with the high-end artwork, I don't know if you have flood doors or anything like that, you might want to consider that. And then, I don't know what your sprinkler system is, but you should definitely, consider that as well with the art.
Appreciate it.
I have no questions. I have none.
Okay, thank you very much. Just one further thing, the testing of the emergency backup generator, is the board's policy is Monday to Friday, 9 to 5. Okay? There's been all calls for midnight, we had some place. Okay?
Our goal is not to do it at
All right,
midnight.
so we're gonna make it as a condition, Monday to Friday, 9 to 5.
Absolutely.
Okay?
Yep.
Okay, can I have a motion to open up the public? Motion to open public portion, do I have a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None? Okay. Anybody from the public have any questions or comments on this application? Board, state your name and address for the record.
Yes, Bob Romano, 54 Kings Highway. I just want to clarify that water across the street is wetlands. And it was told to me by the county, because when we got the hurricanes and stuff, the water was coming up the street. And we thought maybe the town can go in there and dig it out, and they said they can't touch it. It's considered wetlands. Just to clarify.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments?
Sure, I got some. How you guys doing? Pete Shine, 6 Deer Park Road.
I
Back-
didn't catch your name. What's your name?
Peter
Peter?
Shine.
S-H-I-N-E?
Yes, ma'am. 6 Deer Park Road. I look at you guys every day. I'm swimming.
60 Deer Park?
Six Deer Park Road.
Okay.
Really quick, it's a brook. When I grew up, it's a brook, so it's a stream. I just want to make sure you guys, at any time, you said it before, but I want to clarify. You're leaving that whole area you have on that side all the way it is. You're not touching anything. You're leaving your whole drainage system going the same way.
No change.
Because that area floods like crazy, and all those wetlands you're talking about, when you come up my cul-de-sac, all that is actually owned by me, but I can't build on it because it is wetlands and it's a nice turtle there. So you're not messing with that area, right, boys?
Nope.
All right, you guys have a nice day. Take care.
Thank you. We're not changing it, the only thing that's changed is what's marked on the plan for the generator, for your information.
On the other side.
And for the air handlers on the other side, nothing else is being checked,
But
okay?
this
From
gentleman
one way
here,
to another.
this gentleman here has a, they do get loud when they go on. I know you say you build a lot of them, but I do like the other, the noise. That's perfect.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it, thank you.
Well, is there anyone else have any questions or comments? Okay, motion to close the public? Motion to close the public portion, second. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None, okay.
Motion to leave agency.
Motion to leave agency.
Do I
You guys have a
second?
good Easter.
You too, have a
Thank
good
you,
night.
thank you very much.
Was there a second?
Do we have a second? Okay, all in favor?
Wait, who
Aye.
seconded?
Any opposed? No. Go ahead.
I'll second. Okay. Wait, who, Karen second?
Oh, I thought you said something.
No.
Where do you want to put that? Mr. McCory, second to lead
I'm so
agency.
confused.
Just get us through there.
Yes.
Am I going too fast?
No,
Did you get that?
no. We were still establishing something and you moved on. Mr. McCory, second to lead agency.
Okay, have a vote.
Go ahead.
Okay, all in favor?
Of
Aye.
what?
Opposed? None.
Okay.
Motion
Motion.
for next day, next day.
Do I have a second?
Second.
And
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Motion for preliminary with conditions.
Motion for preliminary with conditions.
And the conditions are, first, you're gonna, put, 4 ballards around the generators.
Yes. One generator and the.
And the,
Right.
road bank. Okay. Okay. Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, James Slater, March 25th, there's 2. Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Town of Orangetown, March 25th, Bruce Peters has 1. Booker Engineering, March 19th, he has 5. Department of Fire Prevention, March 11th, has 1. Rockland County Sewer District, number 1, March 25th, they have 1. And that's it.
Mr.
Before you-
Mr. Chairman,
I think they wanted to leave Accord.
I actually don't have Aquaport as a condition,
Oh, I thought they said something.
because I don't think Aquaport is required here,
Okay,
so I did put it as a condition.
okay.
I think this one, the planning board might consider final for this. Because like I said, we have to look at it as far as compliance with noise, with the town code. If there's a question, it'll be sent to IUC. IUC will review it, which includes our town engineers and DEME.
Because the biggest thing I see on it, which is very simple, is the 4 ballards, they said yes. The next thing is vegetation and sound screening around the air handlers and generators, the applicant said yes.
Right.
And that's basically it.
Correct.
Sounds like a final to me.
So,
We would have to, make sound screening condition.
yes, no, it would be a condition.
We can vote on
Because
it.
they've already agreed upon it.
Yes.
So, do we want to change that?
So we wanna make you guys happy. Maybe I should wait till after, but.
Let me pull the board. Andy, you want to leave it preliminary or go final? Final. Okay. Lisa?
Fine.
Mike? Mike? I'm not even talking to you guys because we don't need you now. That's 5 votes. Okay. Do I have a motion for final with conditions?
Motion final with conditions.
We'll go through the conditions, because they might be different from before. Again, the balance, the landscaping,
And drainage is up to, because
and whatever's-
it's less impervious area on the drainage.
correct, whatever sound screening that you do.
Yes.
Okay, James, March 25th, 2. Department of Environmental Management, Bruce Peters, March 25th, 1. Booker Engineering, March 19th, has 4. Bureau of Fire Prevention, Town of Orangetown, March 11th, 1.
Okay.
5.
5 conditions.
Oh, I'm sorry. Is it 5?
5.
5, I'm sorry. Please change that to 5. The Rockland County Sewer District, number 1, March 25th, has 1.
5 conditions.
I did that. Okay, Fire Prevention, March 11th, has 1. And I believe that's it.
You're welcome.
Rockland County.
I just wanted to confirm there was the additional comments that you mentioned. I have the 4 ballards by the generator and the load bank.
Correct.
You mentioned pre-containment for the underbelly tank for the generator.
Oh, we forgot that.
You meant-
Very good, Kate. Thank you.
Yeah, I have no here.
You also mentioned that the generator testing Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Correct.
The plastic screening around the air handlers.
Sounds
Sound
Sorry,
attenuation.
plastic sound screening around the air handlers. Are those all additional
And
conditions?
waiver of alcohol.
And would,
I
that
never
ended up
made it a
not being,
condition.
being
Oh,
a
sorry.
condition, so I
I
just
thought
wanted
you
to,
It was so minor and it's set
No,
so far
I
back.
thought I heard you say something, but I.
Yeah, if Brian mentioned it, that's why yeah. So are those
We
all?
have curbs coming in for them to get them raised up.
Yeah, she gets some water in
Okay,
there.
and the elevation of the air handlers and generator. Right.
The condition is what?
That's conditioned, the elevation of those two.
You want to map? Just put it, show it on the.
Oh, just show the elevation.
Yeah,
Okay.
because they're gonna have to raise it off, because we could get more than
Right, it's not show the elevation. You want the bottom of the generator
raised above the ground.
and the
As do we.
air handler,
Same with the air handlers.
all mechanical equipment will be raised to what though? Because there's not, that's not the floodplain there, right, Ryan?
No, it's not, it's on the other side.
So we don't have the datum to base it off of. How far off the ground do you guys want them?
Go 8 inches.
2 feet. 2 feet. 2 feet.
You want 2 feet?
That's a lot. No,
What's not gonna exceed the height of the building? What would that be?
I'd go
The height of the
6
building, about 25 feet.
Exactly. I mean, I think it's in your best interest to raise it up as much as you can, just because
Our mechanical engineers have advised us 8 inches, based off the floodplain. That's what
Okay.
Kohler, Rowan, and our mechanical engineers have, because I mean, that's what we're planning on right now, is based off of their expertise.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
I think 8 inches. probably.
8 inches? 8 inches?
8 inches. So the bottom of the units will be 8 inches.
Okay, everybody
above
happy with
grade.
8 inches? Thank you very much. 8 inches? Okay.
Motion to,
I need a second. A second. As long as we're done, we have everything?
You got all the conditions?
We have everything? Okay,
You
we have a second. Okay, a second? Mr. McCory seconds?
No, Mr. Andrews second.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? None. Good luck with your project.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Good call there, Jim.
Okay, last but not least, I'm sorry, it's 11 Eastside Avenue site plan.
What's that? I can tell you off the record.
No, they're being postponed.
Thank you.
I mentioned that first thing in the meeting, you must have come in late, I'm sorry.
Oh, yeah, they were started this meeting, it's not showing on the agenda.
I'm very sorry, because I mentioned first thing, that William Street was postponed.
This will be fun.
rescue.
As he said, when is the best of you?
Oh, no, we have no time.
I'm sorry.
What's your name? My first name is Sarah, S-A-R-A-H. Last name is Murray, M-U-R-R-A.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am, what can we help you with?
All right, my name is Sarah Murray with Dominic Cole Associates. I'm here to present the application for 11 Shadyside Avenue. This is a site plan approval for work that was previously done without permit or approval at the property. There's a couple of components to this that were given in a violation to the owner. So there's a parking pad on the south side of the house that was added. There's a retaining wall that supports that parking pad. In addition, there's a retaining wall on the southwest side of the house that was constructed as well along the existing edge of the driveway. And there was a deck on the northwest corner of the house that was constructed. And our application is to remove that deck in order to keep the coverage below 400 square feet.
Okay, project, do you have no additional comments? Okay, Office of Building, Zoning and Planning, Jane Slavin, March 25th. She has 5 comments. Okay, Department of Environmental Management and Engineering, Bruce Peters, March 25th. He has 6 comments. no potential significant impact with respect to drainage and required mitigation. Therefore, we recommend that 11 Shady Side Avenue site plan be approved for drainage subject to the involved project comments, of which there are 3. Okay, Rockland County Department of Planning, March 25th. They have 5.2. Okay. Rockland County Environmental Health, March 11th. We just have a letter. Rockland County Sewer District number 1, March 9th. We have 2 comments. March 7th, yes, I'm sorry. March 7th. We have 2 comments. I have a letter from the Rockland County Highway Department presenting town of Orangetown County Board Service Lead Agent, dated February 28th. I have a letter from Rockland County Planning Department, February 28th, presenting town of Orangetown Planning Board Service Lead Agent. I have a letter from Rockland County Health Department, presenting town of Orangetown Planning Board Service Lead Agent, March 11th. I have a letter from Orangetown ZBA, presenting town of Orangetown Planning Board Service Lead Agent, dated February 21st. I have a letter from Rockland County Planning, comments attached, and that was February 28th. I have another letter from Rockland County Department of Health, comments attached, which is March 11th. I have another letter from Rockland County Highway, February 28th. This project is outside our jurisdiction and has no further comments. I have a letter from Orangetown ZBA, no further correspondence to the site should be sent to this agency. That was dated February 21st. That's it. Kate, was there anything else?
That's it.
Thank you very much. Andy, anything, sir?
So the wall that is provided for the parking area, how high is that wall?
I believe it's about 3.5 feet at the house point.
And what was used to fill in the major parking area?
Well, this is existing, so this was already in place.
So you-
We're just legalizing it.
Okay. What type of wall are you gonna put up there?
This is all built.
It's all built.
Okay.
They're just certifying that the wall is legal.
It's currently a railroad tie.
Yes. So the parking pad is a railroad tie, and then the wall on the other side of the driveway is a block wall.
So, to be clear, the segmented block wall, which is actually on the west side, the parking area with the railroad tie edging on the east side, the concrete wall on the east side by the deck, the railroad tie retaining wall also on the east side, the wood deck and the shed under the wood deck were all constructed without permits. And my number 2 had my north, south, east, west messed up because the plans are sideways. You guys weren't all kids. But to clarify, title search request came in, and these items came up as flagged, of not having any record of them for, in the property file. They were never approved.
You never built?
No, and this came up during a title search, so the current owner purchased it in 2022, so they wouldn't have a record of when it was done. It was the previous owner.
20 plus, is it, or?
I have no idea.
The block wall appears to be relatively recent. The railroad tie seems to be older, so I couldn't say exactly.
Yeah. I have a little concern with the railroad tie wall, being that that's a parking area where you park cars. We don't know how it was constructed. Was it constructed with dead men to hold it? Was it were the ties stacked back into the, to hold it? Do we know any of that? And we don't know if the railroad ties are 40-year or 20-year or whatever.
Well,
So
we're gonna have to get a licensed engineer that's gonna sign off on it and say it's structurally sound.
Okay.
Sarah, right? Sarah?
Yes.
She's actually representing the structural engineer's office right now, so.
Okay, so,
We can, the board can request a letter certifying the structural integrity of that.
you know, railroad ties have a tendency to rot out, and because it is gonna hold up a car, you know, you're gonna park a car in there, put a couple tons of, metal on top of that, and just don't, you know, just wanna make sure that it's structurally sound. I mean, if it was made out of block or, you know, the kind of block that they use today, it'd be a different story, but railroad tie walls.
Well, unless the engineer signs off, they're not gonna go any further.
Okay, all right, that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Lisa?
We just wanna start, you're removing the deck and the shed underneath?
Correct, yeah, essentially, the shed underneath is just that they enclose the other portion of the deck, so it would come out when the deck is removed.
Got it. Are there any other questions?
I don't think they heard you.
Oh, I don't have any other questions, sorry.
Mike?
Yeah, Mike, when you look at the short environmental assessment form, you just keep mentioning the deck. There is a shed underneath, it should be amended to say deck and supporting shed. Because the shed wasn't part of it. Because if you go back to the hand-drawn, survey done by, that was presented to the ZBA back on, April 2nd of '08, wasn't shown on there, not only the deck, but the shed too, so.
Yeah, it's one and the same, but
Right,
obviously
that should be
we'll clarify
corrected
that.
otherwise,
Yeah.
please clarify that.
They both can be removed.
Right, but it only says the deck, not the thing, not the shed, so, be clarified. And, DEM 2 and 3, they talk about the certification of the impervious area, for 387 square feet.
Yep.
So we need
A
an
breakdown.
engineer's report on, yes. That's the only things I have at this time.
Thank you. Mike?
Not too many concerns here. As a homeowner, you wanna make sure those walls are sound and good. It's always in the best interest to make sure they go properly. Oh, just, I think I might have missed, but why are you removing the deck?
So
Yeah, but just leave
It wasn't there
the
because they want to
coverage would
close.
put us over 400 square
Alright.
feet, and it's gonna be cost prohibitive for them to put in some sort
Alright,
of.
it's always nice to have a nice deck out there.
It's not in great shape either.
No,
so
alright,
just-
that makes sense, yeah. Alright, yeah, that's all, nothing major going on here.
Denise?
Are you gonna be impacting the existing stairs when you take the deck out in the sheds?
The existing stairs would stay in place for access to the shed. And there's
Oh, the other shed.
The other shed was,
Yeah,
uphill,
okay,
uphill.
I got it, yeah.
which was approved, by the ZBA years ago.
Even though,
Both sheds, the one in the front yard too. There's an approval for it.
That's good.
Yeah, I have no other questions.
No comments.
Okay. Bruce?
That was gonna be my question about the deck.
I get rid of it.
Yeah, and I was gonna go, you'd be able to variance, take your variance, but.
Motion open public portion. Second. All in favor, aye. Motion to close the public session. Motion to close public session. All in favor? Second. Andrew. All in favor, aye. Any opposed, none? You gotta give us a lot of stuff before we vote on this. I'm kind of needing to ask for a continuation. No?
What?
Do we have all the architect's reports on these walls and everything?
Should have stayed.
Is that needed for planning board approval or just for the permit?
Well, the planning board can basically ask for anything, but in the past, and with almost every, the letter comes to me. It's not typically part of the planning board review, but I do want to state that, we should have one, as Andy mentioned, for, the parking area, but the other segmented block wall at one point is maximum height of 5 feet. So by our town code, it has to be certified. The top of wall is 199, the grade is 194, and our code requires anything over 4 feet must be designed by an engineer, so they'll have to do those, certify both those walls. or otherwise it can't get a certificate of compliance.